we wait for the klaxon. Here we go. We are on the way. There we go. But there looked to be an issue for the second place car. The number 2 car, Piech, did not take off. Something big happened there for Piech. His car has immediately retreated to the bunkers. It's on the way now. Was it stuck in reverse gear? What an absolute drama, but as you can see, he's already almost a full lap behind as Simon Kurzbuch jumps out to an early lead, but he's under immediate pressure from Dario Balestre. And looking to go back-to-back is Balestre. Kurzbuch looking to be a first-time winner, and he's been supremely fast all weekend. Can he keep this pace up, especially now that one of his closest rivals has had an issue early on? That'll be a major blow to Piech, who was one of the all-out favourites coming into this race. But Kurzbuch leads early on. Balestre second, lurking. Third now is Oliver Mack, who has been close to or matching Balestre's pace pretty much all week up here in Ettlingen. This magnificent facility. Very technical circuit, and it has proven suitable for Mack's driving style, and he's been very close. But right now, it is a straight fight between Kurzbuch and Balestre. Balestre looking to go back-to-back, and he has shown fantastic pace all weekend. He was furious with himself that he didn't make it through Superpole. They had to get through the semi-final, but he was confidently through in the semi-final. Only Oliver Mack could live with him, as is the case here. And Kurzbuch continues to lead, but I just get the sense Balestre's got a little bit more on him, a little bit of an edge. Balestre's looking to make the move early and make the early advantage. What he does not want to be done, what he does not want to have happen is what is happening, being backed up into Mack. And Mack went for the shot at the first corner and missed. Just behind him fourth is Lamberto Collari, and then Francesco Tironi is now fifth. Here is your lead battle. 1, 2, 3, all together, all under a blanket. It does not get closer than this. And Balestre, how long does he stay behind Kurzbuch? I guess for as long as he's there, he's got a chance. But it's a long race. He will not want to leave anything to chance. He'll want to get that lead as early as possible and try and build the cushion. If anything happens in the pits, any mechanical issues, any instance with lap traffic, we've seen all of them and more affect racers' performances out here on this finals day in Ettlingen of the European Championships. High-powered Nitro 1/8 scale cars putting on a hell of a show. And Kurzbuch has just got the tiniest bit of a cushion between himself and Balestre. It's still absolutely nothing at all. But what may help is that Balestre is coming under a little more pressure from Oliver Mack. That may well prove to be Kurzbuch's saving. And Mack has dropped back again. It's just so close. In fact, Mack now coming under a little bit of pressure from Lamberto Collari. Your top four right there all together. There is nothing at all separating them. The finest drivers in this discipline, the finest drivers of 1/8 Nitro track cars around that you will ever see. This is the absolute pinnacle, and at the top, it's a very fine margin between success and failure. Kurzbuch continues to lead. He's been nervous through the qualifying sessions, but you've got to have nerves of steel and a bit of lady luck as well to get you through this, as Balestre once again back on the offensive. He's looking to complete the job. If he's still there, then he could obviously make the jump during the first round of pit stops. We are anticipating a lot of them in this race, as well as potential tyre changes, if anyone wants them. That'll only be about once in this race, most likely, if at all. But fuel stops will be the order of the day, and we've seen plenty of drama in the pits, and races decided in the pits already today. But right now, Balestre is trying to win his back-to-back European Championship out on the track, and he's getting more and more desperate. He knows he's quicker. He knows he's got the edge on Kurzbuch, but he just can't get round him. And in they come. They match together. First round of pit stops. This will be absolutely pivotal. And he's jumped him in the pit lane. Oh, that was so close. But how crucial could that be? Balestre just jumps in front of Kurzbuch in the pit lane. Just what we were talking about before, with Mamie making the pass in the pit stops. What a fantastic pit stop from Balestre's crew. Clean as a whistle. And in fact, it was that much on a knife edge that Oliver Mack has now moved up into second place as well. So let's have a brief look at that pit stop on the VRC Pro replay. Kurzbuch comes in front, and look at this. Balestri, fueled and down, and oh! Kurzberg nearly hit him on the way out. Had he impeded him more, that likely would have been a penalty. But Kurzberg has been penalised enough by falling down to third after his early lead. And is this the moment where Balestri starts to stretch his advantage and take one huge step towards becoming European champion for a second time? Oliver Mack is now up to second place. A man who has pretty much been in Balestri's wheel tracks all weekend. And there is Simon Kurzberg. What might have been on that pit stop. It was a fraction of a second slower than Balestri, and that was enough to drop him from first to third. That's how close the margins are here. They are so fine here. Lamberto Collari is also sniffing around the back end of this top four, but he's struggling to live with them a little bit. Finding it hard to get up there. Frank, that illustrates how fine the margins are here. Fraction of a second in the pits. We have a new leader.
Yeah, definitely. I'm actually concerned for both of those guys because Mack and Collari have not come in for their pit stops yet. So I'm wondering how much further can they go? Do they have a pit stop in hand, basically, to where they don't have to lose several seconds stopping at a dead stop in the pits? That's the 4 and 5 car.
Yes, that's very interesting. I think I've seen Collari pit once in this race. I'm not so sure about Mack. Unless it was a very quick one. It must have been an incredibly fast one. It's blink of an eye stuff, but that is a very prudent point that Frank has brought up there about fuel strategy. How lean do you run your car? Do you run it to save fuel, go longer between fuel stops and maybe save some time, maybe save a pit stop altogether? Or do you run it as rich as possible to go maximum performance? Coming round, there's Dario Balestri, the leader, and as you can see, he's starting to stretch his advantage just a little bit over Oliver Mack. And Frank raises a pretty good point though. I wonder if Mack is running slightly leaner to try and save some fuel. It's all possibilities at this point.
I mean, they've been running for close to 7 minutes now, so it's entirely possible at this point that we just missed both of those guys coming in for their stops, and maybe they have a shorter fueling strategy.
Yeah, so I wonder if Oliver Mack had a shorter pit stop, and that's what was able to leapfrog him up into second place. So if that car is using slightly less fuel, it explains why Balestri has car speed on him, but it also explains why Mack is able to go slightly longer on his fuel runs. And we've got an issue for Maximilian Vogel in the pit lane. Nope, my mistake, that was a routine stop. He returns to the track. Vogel running in 8th place as we continue to follow Dario Balestri.
So that illustrates what I was saying. He stopped at 37 minutes. That's 8 minutes into the race. So he's stopping, seems about every 3.5 or 4 minutes.
Yeah, I wonder if some guys are going faster than normally they can make around 5 minutes. They had to in qualifying. But a couple of these guys running leaner, or running richer, shall we say, for increased performance. But they obviously have to sacrifice that with more pit stops or more time in the pit lane, fueling up. So more cars coming out in front of the leader. This will infect Balestri here. And the number 9 car behind him is Nicola Morone. That's more lap traffic. So Balestri very dug in lap traffic right now. And he just cleaves through. And he comes in for a second pit stop. This is about on strategy. Another lightning fast pit stop. Nothing stopping Balestri out there. He has got this down pat. And with the early problems of Robert Piech, suddenly this opens the door wide open for Balestri, who's trying to put a lap on Lamberto Collari, who has just pitted. But obviously Balestri looking for anything he can get. At the leader right now is Oliver Mack, who is only now pitting in. So Frank, as you said, he's going a couple of laps longer per stop. But I wonder, Mack is still there with Balestri. But in terms of raw pace, I don't think it's quite there. But what's also to note is I'm just looking back through the field. It appears that Simon Kurzberg may have lost some ground. We'll see how they shake up here. A battle that we might want to watch is the battle for 5th or 4th spot, which is being held right now by Alessio Mazzeo. They're coming through the D'Agostini D there. There it is. That big swarm coming down to the start finish straight down. That lot is your battle for 4th spot. As they come round, and there's a couple of lap cars in there. Lamberto Collari is in there. Merlin Depter's also in the scrap. But Depter is showing behind Kalari. There it is. And Alessio Mazzeo is also in there as well. There's scrap going in there. That's Mazzeo in the 6th.
Shockingly, Robert Peach is on. He's just about a lap behind. He's in 4th.
If he manages to
So
come
I
back and
think
win this thing.
he came in at exactly 35 minutes. So if he's got 5-minute, easy 5-minute stints, he might be able to be up there and challenge for the lead by the end of the race.
Who knows? If that was the strategy all along, if that was somehow a strategy call at the start, that'd be one of the biggest gambles in history. I don't think it was. I think it must have been a mechanical issue that got turned around, and they're starting the fight back here. Remember, when he spoke to us yesterday in the garage, he explained that his favoured starting spot is 2nd. The battle that's on screen right now, it's Alessio Mazzeo versus Simon Kurzbuch. And this is how far Kurzbuch has fallen. He's down to 8th spot. The pit stop's not working in his favour.
I've just noticed, coming through the D'Agostini D now and down the pit straight, that is a battle for 3rd with Kalari in the car 5 just coming through the upper hairpin now, and directly behind him is
There
Peach.
they go off into the main straight.
They're on the same lap battling for 3rd.
Yeah, there they come through the D'Agostini D there. And round. You're absolutely correct, Frank. Good spot. Lamberto Kalari holding on to the final podium spot for now, but for how much longer? Because he's got a resurgent Robert Peach charging up behind him on the comeback trail, and he's also got Merlin Depter hanging along for company. Depter hugely enthusiastic to make it into this final, having done the double bump up to make it here. So he's running in the top 5. This will be a good result for him if he can hang on to it. But he's a racer. He will look at these two of the greats of this discipline. He'll be learning a lot, but he'll also be thinking, imagine if I can beat them. What a pair of scalps to take. But right now, this is a huge scrap between Kalari and Peach. Peach coming back from what looked like some sort of transmission issue briefly on the start, where it seemed to go into reverse off the early start.
I think he flamed out. Someone on the YouTube stream is saying he flamed out by going full throttle a little bit too early.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Oh, and there's the pass.
Peach has gone through. He's made the move. Peach back up into 3rd spot. What a turnaround this is for Peach, considering how his race started with a potential flame out, as Frank mentioned there. Coming back now to 3rd, ahead of Lamberto Kalari. 2 of the most successful drivers in our sport, in our discipline, right together there, and this is a fantastic battle. Let's have a look at how the pass was made on the VRC Pro replay. Kalari there, just left his line a little bit wide, and Peach pounced almost immediately. Absolutely razor sharp, perfect.
I mean, knowing how precise Kalari is, I wonder if he just knew that Peach was that much faster than him and he let him go. I do wonder.
I wonder, but then again, this is the final. Surely you defend your position at all costs. But
possibly, yes. I mean, yeah, it's a battle for position, so the referees wouldn't say to move over, but that seems strangely wide. And Merlin has pitted, so he's fallen off behind these guys.
Yeah, so he's pitted now and has faded from this little battle, but right now, man we're tracking a little bit is Robert Peach, who's made his way well back into the top 3. An incredible stint. And interestingly again, Oliver Mack appears to be going longer on his fuel. He's only now pitting in is Oliver Mack. So once again, he's gone longer than Dario Balestri. We've got to have a battle for the lead as they come out the lane. Down at the Efra hairpin, we've got to change for the lead. Oh my goodness me. Up onto the back straight, into the HB carousel, and down to the D'Agostini D. There is your battle for the lead. And a little bit of a wheelie there from Oliver Mack. They're almost side by side down the main straight. Balestri versus Mack for the European Championship 2015. Mack is desperately trying to hold Balestri behind him. Balestri is furious. He gained the lead during the pit stops and then lost it in the pit stops. Mack running slightly longer and appears to be playing to his advantage. Balestri clearly with a lot of car speed. This is going to be a showdown for the ages, ladies and gentlemen.
And if these guys hold each other up, they might let Peach get back up to them.
Indeed.
Although Peach, I think, just went off the track.
I think he did, yes, over at the final
And he's
corner.
flamed out again. He's flamed out again. Adrian Bertin is running his car back.
And we've got another car off at the end of the the pit straight. I think that was the number 7, Francesco Tironi. And Maximilian Vogel's car has also died. Attrition starting to hit then in this final. But all around them, drivers are falling by the wayside. But this lead battle, it's almost like no one else is on the track for them. Oliver Mack versus Dario Balestri. A great battle. Mack has been on pace, on terms with Balestri all week. And now he's proving that he can go one step better and maybe beat Balestri for the European Championship. The car immediately behind them, Lamberto Collari, is not in this race. He's a lap behind them for now, in 6th place. The next car behind these guys is Merlin Depter, and he's a good half a lap behind. So it's these two, pretty much. For now, it is between these two as to who becomes European Champion 2015. Oliver Mack in the bright green number 4 car. Piche has just rejoined, but he's going to be many laps down again. He's going to fight through to the end, though. That's the champion spirit right there, the warrior code. Designates that you go to the end at all costs. But what a disappointment for Piche either way.
Yeah, he's sorry, were you saying he just came out?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, sorry. I was busy watching the screens.
Yep. There's a lot to watch in here, ladies and gentlemen. You take your eyes off the track for a second and the whole complexation of the race changes completely. As the number 7 car has returned to the pits. Taroni's car having all sorts of critical issues, along with Maximilian Vogel. We continue to follow this lead battle. And I wonder if, just like the battle between Balestri and Kurzbuch at the start of the race, this one could be settled in the pit lane in Balestri's favour again. But Balestri does not want to settle it in the lane. He wants to settle it out on the track. Fighting for back-to-back European Championships. But those sort of Hail Mary passes very rarely work around this technical Ettlingen track. And they very often end in disaster. Surely it's too early to be throwing the big passes and going for the big moves that early. And in fact, Merlin Depter. Oh, it's off! Balestri's off! Straight on at the HB carousel! Oh no! And the steering's gone! That looks like terminal steering damage. It didn't even try making the corner after he come back on. I think it's all over. I think it's all over for the reigning champion. We will have a new name on the trophy this year. It won't be Balestri going back to back, unless there's some sort of miracle. Let's have a look what happened on the VRC Pro replay. I think he just completely missed his braking spot. Here we go. Oh, he clipped the glass on the right, or maybe it looked to me, Frank, like he just had no steering. Just did not even turn into the corner.
It was either that or he got stuck on the curbing on the outside, and the lip of the curbing just didn't allow him to turn.
Yeah,
that's just a guess.
Yeah, that's a very good guess actually. I'd go with that. He got stuck on the curb and then that hit damaged the steering, and that is the end of Dario Balestri's race. We will not have a defending champion, as we have a good battle for position going on out on the track between Simon Kurzbuch and Alessio Mazzeo. Those two are coming up to the HB carousel now, and Lamberto Collari is now up into 3rd and challenging Merlin Depter for 2nd. In fact, the battle for 2nd is just behind this car that we're following now. It's Oliver Mack, so we drop down one. There's your 2nd place car, Merlin Depter. He is actually a lap behind Oliver Mack, so even though he goes through now, he won't be challenging for position. In fact, he's going to be defending his position resolutely from Lamberto Collari, who is now up into 3rd. Simon Kurzbuch 4th, 5th for Alessio Mazzeo, and Nicola Morone 6th. After that, we've already lost 4 runners pretty much from the going there. Attrition heavy at the sharp end. This final takes absolutely no prisoners, Frank.
When they crash big at this speed. 70 plus miles an hour or so. Yeah. One mistake and then your race.
Yep. Easily up towards north of 110 kilometers an hour. The end of the main straight. They have a speed trap at the end there, which shows the spectators here just how fast these cars are going. That straight, they are incredibly fast machines. Require incredible precision to drive them on your own, let alone in a battle pack, as we're seeing right here. Collari's just pitted in behind Merlin Depter. So, tell you what, we spoke to Merlin Depter before the race. This is one of the drivers who got the double bump up and qualified through from the quarterfinals. So this would be some story if he manages to grab a podium out of this, or better. Something could still happen to Oliver Mack, we don't know. Attrition has been very heavy in this race. And so for Depter, he's running 2nd right now. This is a phenomenal job so far, I have to say. Mack continues to lead, but Depter is now up to half a lap behind. Depter still yet to make a pit stop in this cycle. And we have a car off just on the inside of that corner there, just as they go by. That's Robert Piche again. It's getting to the point where you wonder how much more that car can take. It's making barely a handful of laps before something goes wrong with it. That car is ailing badly, and it's a real shame. He will not be adding another European Championship to his rammed trophy case. But maybe Oliver Mack will, or Merlin Depter, or even Simon Kjørsbøk, who's just up to third. Again, pit strategies are starting to differentiate the field here. So we continue to watch Merlin Depter, the second place car. And the top three split a little bit now, but any instant could bring them back together. As let's just have a look. So Kjørsbøk and Alessio Mazzeo, and Depter's now in the lane. Depter is now in the lane, the second place car. So let's see how long he's fueled. Into the lane, tyre change is going in as well. We are about half distance. We talked about tyre changes. Go, 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 down and away. Good job there. Good job by Merlin Depter's crew to get those tyres on. He'll come up behind Robert Pietsch, who's obviously many laps down. But Frank, how many guys do you think we'll see go 4 tyres? Do you think we'll see anyone go 2 tyres or none at all?
I don't. Did we actually see him do 4 tires?
Yes.
Okay, because I was curious because I thought they must have, because those were left side tires by the time I saw that. So he's changed all 4 tires. So that's very interesting. Well, it's entirely guesswork if just trying to figure out who's actually going to change tires. But we are at the halfway point of the race, just about. So obviously you make the change during a fuel stop just to save a bit more time.
Yep, and right now Lamberto Collari scored up into second place. So I wonder if that's either a case of Collari is yet to pit in this cycle, or he did not change tyres. Because Depter has changed all 4 tyres there. So he'll be good to the end. He'll not need to worry about rubber at all. But Lamberto Collari still in the hunt for yet another trophy in his illustrious career in RC racing. So we've been following Merlin Depter for quite a while. If we drop back 1 car, Paul, we'll pick our leader, Oliver Mack. Coming through right there. There's Oliver Mack, there's our leader. And just behind him is our 4th place car now, Simon Kjørsbøk. There he is, Simon Kjørsbøk coming through. So there's our pole sitter. He's languishing down in 4th for now. He'd be disappointed with that. He'll have wanted better out of this race. But almost certainly he's been, as Frank said, a little bit of a breakout star this weekend. Max just coming to the lane himself, so that'll be his second round of pit stops, his round of pit stops for the halfway point done. And I can just see out of the corner of my eyes, I think they're changing 4 tyres on Mac's car down in the lane. It's certainly a longer pit stop. This is certainly not just a fuel stop. So Mack is away. What this does now is, I wonder, is there a chance that Collari has not changed tyres, or only changed 2? We wait to see what Collari does here. It's around the halfway stage, but he's certainly out in front now, ahead of Mack and Depter, who both changed 4 tyres.
If you don't change the tires, it drastically affects your ride height. It affects the gear ratio of the car, so you'll be going, I can't remember if it's faster or slower. I believe faster at the end of the straight, so your braking will change, your speeds will change, and your ride height will change, which changes drastically the handling of the car. So, but some drivers, or look at Valentino Rossi at the end of the race. He's always able to, well, used to be able always to come back at the end of the race on used tires. So it's entirely possible that could be the strategy to do. Obviously, you see how much time it takes in the pits, and you see where he's sitting at now in the lead.
And what's interesting is that Collari appears to be matching Max pace so far, with Max on new tyres. Here comes Collari into the lane. What does he do? He's in. This will be the big one. Fuel, and here comes the tyre change. So it would have been a gamble too far. We were speculating that he may have tried to make the race on 1 set of tyres, but there it is, a 4 tyre change. So Collari will get to the end on this one, and fuel in, and he's down and away. So that's his tyre change done. So Collari will slot back in, I think either in 2nd or 3rd. He's just ahead of Merlin Depter on the track, but I don't know if he's on the same lap right now. No, it looks like Depter is, yes, Depter is back up to 2nd place. And actually, the top 3 are actually on the same lap for now. And we're just watching Collari. If we drop back 1 to Merlin Depter, the orange car there, the orange number 8, there he is. And the car just sort of behind him, just out of shot, is Alessio Mazzone, who's not on, Mazzeo, sorry. who's not on the same lap immediately, but now into the lane comes the number 8 of Depter, as well as the number 4 of Simon Kjørsbuk. Kjørsbuk putting tyres up. No, he wasn't. That was just fuel. My apologies, but down to 20 minutes to go then in the grand final of the EFRA 1/8 IC Track European Championships. Our coverage on RC Racing TV, presented by HB Europe, D'Agostini Model Space, and EFRA. We are the official media partners of EFRA. And what an event they've staged. What a great final. What a great conclusion to a fantastic week out here in Ettlingen in Germany. Great spectacle, great action. And right now, we're just having a watch of the battle for second. Merlin Depter is about a straight ahead of Simon Kjørsbuk, who you'll just see in the background of some of the shots. And you see there Depter coming through on the corner cam, on the EFRA hairpin cam. Kjørsbuk's a little way back, but there's at least in touching distance. Most crucially, look who's immediately behind Depter. That's Oliver Mack, who is looking to put a lap on Merlin Depter. What a big blow that would be. A lap between first and second. Mack would take an enormous step. He would practically be putting one hand on the trophy if he was able to do that. But 18 minutes and 50 seconds is an absolute eternity in RC racing, as we've seen. We've seen flare-outs, we've seen blowouts, pin issues, incidents with lap traffic. There is still any number of things that could compromise Mack's race at the end here. As we're ticking down well into the second half of the race now. Depter continues to run second. As I say, that'll be a great result in itself if Depter can hold on to second place, having done the double bump up, qualifying from the quarterfinals up to the semis and then into the final, all on pace as well. He did not need the second chances or the time qualifiers. He is here because he absolutely deserves to be. All drivers in this final are here because they absolutely deserve to be. And it's been a great run for Depter. He was very enthusiastic when we spoke to him in the pit lane before the race, and that enthusiasm is mirrored here. I got the sense that he was out there to really enjoy himself. This was better than he expected this weekend. Make it to the final was his goal, and he was really after it, and really anything after that was a bonus. As you see the drivers stand up there, see all the drivers, pictures of concentration, absolute focus. No nerves up there between them. And that is absolutely true. It doesn't matter if the guy stood next to you is the guy you're racing on the track. You don't even blink, especially when you're driving them from this far away. And Merlin Depter is now a full lap behind Oliver Mack. Mack is now coming around to complete his lap. He'll be up into the EFRA hairpin in a few seconds. So we're following Depter. There's a car off over on the far side. And it's the number 2 car of Robert Piech again. That car has been on borrowed time pretty much for this entire final. Credit for him for trying to make the finish, most certainly. He's not going to give up. That car has been plagued with issues from the very start, and I wonder, he said he was running some new parts on that car for this weekend. A lack of testing on them, but he felt confident they'd do the job. Up until now they have, but they've let him down. Well, the car has let him down badly in this final, and it's a real shame. Piech, one of the stars of this field. But one man's misfortune is another man's gain, and we've been following Depter for quite a while. Let's find our leader then. He's coming through the D'Agostini D now. He'll be onto the main straight. Right there he is. The bright green car of Mack. Oh, looks fantastic on the cameras, flashing around this Ettlingen facility. And it's been arrow smooth. And I'll tell you what, I'm loath to say this out of a fear of commentary curse, but I have been very impressed with Oliver Mack this week. He's been arrow sharp, very smooth, very consistent. And as I say, he's always been on the coattails of Dario Balestri. So if you're matching the reigning champion's pace, then you're not doing too badly at all in mine, but you're giving yourself a chance of glory. And when Balestri's charge faltered, he beat him out of the pits about 10 minutes ago, or 15 minutes ago. And then as Balestri tried to retake the lead, his charge ended in spectacular fashion. So Mack has just kept his head down, kept very calm, kept pretty quiet. He was pretty reserved when we spoke to him in the pits, but he felt quietly confident. I felt there wasn't many nerves there, and he feels good. He felt good. He'll certainly be feeling good now. There's still 15 minutes of this thing left to shake out, but most crucially, the car ahead of him is Merlin Depter. So if he puts a second lap on Merlin Depter, that is huge. That is absolutely massive, Frank.
Well, if I were Oliver Mack, I would just hang back behind Merlin, because there's obviously he's his closest challenger, and if he just matches Merlin's pace, all the cars ahead will be moving aside anyway, and they'll know that the faster cars are going to be coming through, including the leader. So it puts less strain on him mentally and physically on the car. So just hang back.
Yep. Very smart advice there from Frank. Mack is in no rush right now. And indeed, he's got two very fast guys in front of him. But he's looking to put a second lap on Merlin Depter, just ahead of him, the second place car. And a fourth lap, I believe, on Lamberto Collari, the fourth place car that's just ahead of Depter. So on your screen there, from left to right pretty much, is fourth, second, first, all on different laps. But either way, Frank is absolutely right. Oliver Mack is in no hurry. I mean, he can see his main rival on the track. You can see him, he's in front of him. He's got the best part of a lap, 1.99 laps on his nearest rival. Mack is in no need to rush. There's absolutely no reason for him to risk his car. There's no reason to throw it off. He doesn't even have to set lap record pace, because he's got Merlin Depter and he's got the field right where he wants them and right where he needs them to be. So Mack coming through, and I think he's saying in your advice, Frank, because it doesn't look like he's attacking Merlin Depter at all. Depter is running as fast as he needs to. Well, Depter's his main competition. If he's running on pace with Depter, then he's all good. Now into the lane. Want to make sure this is perfect execution. Fuel and straight back out. Lovely. There you go. There's another obstacle avoided. We've seen a lot of times today pit stops be the end of drivers' challenges for this European Championship. But Mack, not the case. He's actually sliding it a little bit in the corners. I assume that's not showboating at all. I assume that's just him making sure he gets the car home. He doesn't have to nail every apex. Every lap does not have to be a qualifying lap. It just has to be clean. He just has to keep it on the tarmac for another 12 minutes, just under 13 minutes. And he is European champion. That is a huge accolade to hang over your head. And it's the same story, it's a similar story. I spoke about this earlier, how sometimes you have to look slightly to the left of the big guns and the favourites. You know, your Collaris, your Bertans, your Piches, your Balestris. You know, they're the guys to watch. They're the big guns. They're the ones, the favourites that you feel money putting a safe bet on. You feel your money's safe if you put it on them. However, sometimes those guys, through no fault of their own, as we saw with Gilles Groschkamp and Robert Piche, things will curtail their charge. It will not work out for them. So sometimes, and a big flip at the end of the pit straight there, just ahead of Oliver Mack. That was the number 9 of Nicola Morone, having a bit of a wild ride. That's still far in front of Oliver Mack for him to worry. But as I was saying, you sometimes have to look slightly to the left of those big guns and those favourites to see the guys who could sneak up on the rails and surprise the top guys. Your Bruno Coelhos, you know, your Robin de Hont, and indeed Oliver Mack. I feel like he's been there or thereabouts. I mean, Simon Kurzbuch could have been in that category. He is still out there, and he's still third actually. And he's not far behind Oliver Mack on the track actually. So if we drop one, maybe 2 cars back from our leader, just wait at the HP carousel for a moment, we'll see Mazzone come through, and there is Kurzbuch, the second of those 2 cars. Kurzbuch running third. A little bit of a headbutt at the rumble strips there, he doesn't need that. Attrition has claimed 4 of our 10 starters. So Kurzbuch still running third. And as Frank said, he's been threatening this sort of performance for many years. Maybe this might have been a year too early for him to take the overall championship, but he'll still feel very, very proud of this performance. If he can hang on for a podium, he'll have taken top qualifier, which would have been a huge, huge confidence boost for him. He seemed very, very happy. He seemed very pleased. He didn't have to go through the tension of Superpole or through the semi-finals in order to make it here. He was the first one qualified for the final in Superpole yesterday, early afternoon. And he's driven a fairly clean race. Obviously, he didn't seem to have the race pace quite as much as Dario Balestri or indeed Oliver Mack or Merlin Depter as it's gone through the race. But Kurzbuch has still put everyone on notice that he is one to watch in future European and World Championships in this discipline. He's certainly doing a very good job out there, and he's being very solid. Again, solid, clean, consistency. That is all you need. I make it sound like the simplest thing in the world. Makes it sound like I could do it. It's very much easier said than done, folks. You didn't need me to tell you that, did you? And Kersbuk continues to circulate. The top three spread at the moment. Most cars on the track pretty spread out right now. And a little bit of a hiccup there for Depter. He came through. He's just ahead of Kersbuk at the moment, but Depter has a lap in hand on Kersbuk. There's literally a lap separating first through second, second through third, and at third through fourth, Lamberto Collari. So it's very easy to assume that this is how they'll finish. There's still a hell of a lot to go, including some late pit stops and a lot of traffic to deal with. At the moment, with the field splintered as it is, you've got to have a different kind of focus. You've got to know where your rivals are on the track and know what could affect you and know what could send you plunging back into the clutches of your nearest rival. That's exactly what Oliver Mack will be aware of. He'll be well aware of that. He'll have his mechanics and his crew shouting up instructions and encouragement and little messages. At the moment, it's just keep doing what you're doing. As I say that, he's just ahead of Kersbuk on the track. He just headbutted the rumble strips a little bit. Maybe tension creeping in. Oliver Mack is now in though. He's in the pit lane as Kersbuk goes flying through. Mack is down and away in the pit stop. And he just needs to do it a little bit smoothly here. Let's drop back to Mack actually. Let's hang there for a second and wait for Oliver Mack to come through. He should be coming through right about now. There he is. There is our race leader. And Frank, clarify this one for me. Should that be his final pit stop or will he have to pit one more time, do you think?
I will definitely have to pit one more time at least. 8.5 minutes to go. You assume that these guys are running a 4:30 to 5 minute stints. So yeah, he's definitely coming in one more time.
Okie doke. Well, either way, that was at least his penultimate pit stop done cleanly and without fuss. Again, another obstacle cleared. He's just sliding the car a little bit in the corners. As I say, there's absolutely no need to try and bang out Superpole times here. The time for that was Superpole itself. He wasn't in it, remember. He had to qualify the hard way through the semi-finals and onwards. And he made it through that semi-final by basically shadowing Dario Balestri the whole way. Balestri won his semi-final, and Oliver Mack was in close attendance for the entire race. So that should have been warning that should anything happen to Balestri, Mack would be there to pounce on it and be one of the main contenders. And that is exactly what has happened out here in Ecklingen on a sunny Saturday afternoon. We've seen some fantastic racing out here. We've seen some of the big names fall on their swords. We've seen underdogs triumph against all adversity. We've seen some fantastic RC racing. We've seen some spectacular RC crashes, which is probably a byproduct of the intense racing that we get out here. The drivers laying it all on the line to even get into this final, to even get to this stage. For some of the drivers like Depter and Maximilian Vogel, who's still circulating but many laps down now, as well as others like Alessio Mazzeo, who's just ahead of the leader right now. He's running 5th. He spoke to us in the garage walk, in the pit walk, and he was very clear. He was delighted to be there. He was delighted to be in contention. And as we continue to watch Oliver Mack, let's just track forward a few cars if we can to Merlin Depter, our second place car. He'll come up to the Efra hairpin about now. There he is. There he is going through. And he's got Alessio Mazzeo just behind him. That's not a battle for position. The battle for position is in fact with Simon Kersbuk, who is just a few cars. He's the car behind Oliver Mack, 4th in line. There he is. So the battle for second is starting to close up a little bit here in the late going. So we follow Merlin Depter, who is probably the underdog story of this race. If he can keep it together. The double Guzzo, the double push-up through the quarterfinals and then the semi-finals. But whereas other people, we speculated maybe that's a disadvantage. You've got to work harder, you've got to get through. He viewed it as an advantage. He said he knew the track better, he had more practice, he was more in his rhythm, he was more in his A-game. And he knew exactly what to do. And as Simon Kersbuk was the last in that line that just went through, he's coming up to the Efra hairpin now. And Merlin Depter's coming up to the Efra hairpin now, right in front of our commentary position. Orange and black car, the number 8 car. He'll be up to the HP carousel now. He's at the front of that queue. There he is, coming through the D'Agostini D. There we go. There's his second place car. And let's follow him because Simon Kurzbuch is not too far behind him, Frank.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's the last 5 minutes of the race, so we're going to start seeing the final pit stops very, very soon.
Final pit stops of what has been a long and exhausting campaign. Some of these guys, their campaigns would have started on Monday when they first unloaded here for early practice. We arrived on Wednesday to start our coverage, start up. And these guys have been grafting all week, working to perfect everything. It's been absolute heartbreak for the guys who had to pack up and go home yesterday after issues for their cars. And I think we just saw Nicola Morone's car. Nope, Morone's car still on the track, so he saw someone. And Oliver Mack has just pitted, been informed. So here is the final cycle of pit stops. There's Merlin Depter, who is up behind the number 9 of Nicola Morone, who's running 6th. And Kurzbuch is not far behind Depter. So if we zoom out a little bit, coming through the HP carousel, watch for the yellow and red car just on the right of his shot there. There it is. And they're pitting together. Here we go then. This is the battle for second happening right in front of you. And it's a very good stop from Merlin Depter. And in fact, it's all gone horribly wrong for Simon Kurzbuch, who rotated in the pit lane. He ended up facing the wrong way in the pit lane. Was that a gaffe from one of the mechanics? Or did he just spin it up and go too early? Who knows, but I think that's cost him his charge for second.
He probably just accelerated the car, which makes it tip back. And as the mechanic released the car, it just did a wheelie and spun around on its back wheels, probably.
Well, that is very unfortunate for Simon Kurzbuch, who was still well in contention for second place. But that appears to have gone now. 3 minutes, 15 seconds to go in the 2015 European Championships, presented live on RC Racing TV, along with our partners HP Europe, D'Agostini Model Space and Efra. Fantastic racing all week. There has not been a dull moment the whole race and the whole event. And Merlin Depter continues on his way. He has now got half a lap in hand on second place. So let's drop back just one car to the bright green car of Oliver Mack. There he is. The bright green number 4 car. And let's watch him as right now he is on his way home. He's got 2.5 minutes to go. He's likely done all his fuel stops. There's nothing more. The path towards victory is wide open for him now. This has been an absolute masterclass. This has been Championship Driving 101 out here from Oliver Mack. How to go through a whole race, how to resist pressure from behind, how to overtake in front, how to make moves when needed, how to defend when needed, how to nail every single pit stop, how not to make a single mistake. And I know I'm saying all this with 2 minutes still to go on the clock, but as I say, I'm really crossing my fingers that my commentary curse doesn't strike one more time. But Mack will have certainly earned this race victory. It's been a masterful performance. He is still a clear lap ahead of Merlin Depter, and Depter is in fact just in front of him on the straight. And if anything, is closer to being 2 laps down on the leader. But as I say, we've got a few cars in the pit lane. One car is being retired. I think that's Alessio Mazzeo's car. Has just been retired and hauled off to the side, which is a shame. But attrition really hitting in this final here. Now only 5 or 6 cars left running out there. And Morone's car still running. Maximilian Vogel has returned to the track, so he's still running despite being laps down. But still 5, 6 cars out there, and 5 within lead laps of each other. Incredible attrition throughout this race. It has been a battle of survival, let alone trying to win this race. Just survive it. But for Oliver Mack, he is looking on to do not only survive, but to defeat some of the finest in the world in this discipline. He has defeated former world champions, former European champions. He stayed in the wheel tracks of the European champion, the reigning champion, most of this week. And when the time came, he slipped by and pounced, took his opportunity. And he kept his head while everyone else was losing theirs. Come on now, you've only got about 2, 3 more laps at most to do. And this is the penultimate lap itself. So when he comes around now, he'll be starting his last lap of the European Championships 2015, or should be. He might be going so fast, he might beat the clock. But it almost doesn't matter at this stage. He's got a comfortable gap back to second. This has been an absolute masterclass of driving from start to finish from Oliver Mack, the German, the number 4 car. This will be his final lap. The checkered flag is waiting for him, as will be the 2015 European Championship. There it is. Oliver Mack is the 2015 EFRA 1/8 IC Track European Champion. What a magnificent drive and a pitch perfect race when it mattered. Well done, Oliver. That was fantastic.